How are you doing? Good. My name is Dinah Sanchez. I'm one of the international programmers here at the festival. Huge pleasure for me this evening to be able to present El Ángel by Luis Ortega. We've got Luis here, but before we bring him out, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that tonight's event is taking place on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit and the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat. And we're very grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community. Also, thank you. Yeah, it is lovely. This film is eligible for the Gross People's Choice Award, and when you can do that online, tiff.net/vote. And I want to extend a big thank you to The Orchard for providing us with today's film, but also for releasing these foreign films in North America. This will be released in November, so tell everyone that you know about it because it is an amazing film. We've had the filmmaker here in town a couple of times. I think this is like your fourth time here? Yeah, third time here. I think he's got such a unique vision, and it really comes through in his latest film, El Ángel, and he's here with us today from Buenos Aires. Please welcome Luis Ortega.
Hi, thanks. Thank you very much for coming. It's a pleasure to be here. It's really an honor. I mean, I want to thank Deanna in the first place for supporting me from such a young age. I think this is maybe the best film. It is probably the best film I've done till this moment. I want to thank The Orchard, the people who are distributing the film, Paul and Rebecca. It's really an honor. Well, I hope you enjoy it. It's really loosely based on this true story that happened in 1971 in Buenos Aires. But it's mostly has to do with my what I remember as a child. I never killed anyone, but except from that, it's childhood memories, and it has a lot to do with the films I watched as a child, like Rumblefish or Bonnie and Clyde or Badlands. So I hope I can be like next to that kind of film, and I really hope you enjoy it. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thank you. And just to make sure, if you stay for the Q&A, because Luis will be back to be able to chat with you some more. And thank you, Luis, for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. It's a question about the style. Can you talk?
Yeah. Well, I can't avoid saying I'm really influenced by other films. I grew up in Miami, Florida, where if you wanted to buy candy, you have to walk like 70 miles or have a car. So that made it like really, all I had was films and water. And I never thought films were made by someone. I just thought they were there. I never doubted for a second when I was a kid that was what was happening. I never knew there was a director or a guy like doing the light or actors like reading the script. I just completely believed what I was watching. I think I'm from like a normal family, you would say. Not that normal, but like I'm not from the street. But I've been drawn to the street all my life, like for all these people that go beyond the limits. And when I read this story about this kid, it was so amazing because he just looked like a little baby and someone that's not supposed to kill you. And in the 70s, there was this criminologist called L'Ambrosio. He was Italian, I think. And he drew this really strict profile of what a criminal looks like. And of course, he was ugly and black and big ears and big nose. And people still think that till this day. Like 50 years later, this guy's still in prison after 50 years. And the society was shocked just because this beautiful kid was killing people. It's like, how can somebody beautiful kill you? Which is so stupid. I thought it was worth doing a movie about it because it still works that way, right? So this kid, to answer your question, the picture of this kid coming out from this cop car with all these militaries, he was so like stylized and it was so crazy. Just in that paper image from the paper, like the story was there. But we worked on this whole Kodachrome image, like how films were done in that time, how they looked, and I always thought classic films have that virtue of like putting a straight story there, but then you're really disturbed by it. So it's like it's classic because you watch it and you can let it into your system, but once it's in your system, it does something to you. So that was my goal, like to follow that style that takes you into the film, but once you're inside, then you're not sure of what you're watching, or it just goes crazy.
Question over here. Go ahead.
So I did. Carlito was always about being free, and when he breaks out of prison, he's on that train, he's crying. What's going on with him at that point?
Well, that's an interesting question because a lot of people point out that scene, and we talked a lot about that scene. One of the producers told me, but why is he crying? Because he doesn't. Yeah, well, there's different interpretations. You don't always know what you're doing when you're writing. You're just following an instinct, and I just thought he was influenced by the music that's going on in the train, which he was always influenced by music from the very start. And I guess at one point, no matter how messed up you are, you kind of fall into reality and say, damn, maybe I went too far. Maybe there's no way back. But then you just have to go back to whatever your character is. And his character was like, okay, I'm going all the way. But there's this point where it all breaks and you actually realize you just lost it all. I think that's what happens to him.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, question over here.
What was going on through your head when you did that testicle scene?
Well, at the moment, what was going on through my head was I had written that in the script, but I took it out because I knew I wasn't going to be able to explain it to whoever. Like, why are you going to shoot like a close-up of that? But then I started remembering when I was a little kid, I used to live in this small state up in Argentina, the smallest state in Argentina. And when I would come back from school, there was this guy with a bag going up the mountain. And I would run up and get a wine from my dad's bar. And we would give the guy wine when he reached our house. And he would put his pants down and his testicles would reach to his knee because he had a hernia. And I know it's not funny, but when you're a kid, it's impressing. So all the kids would like get around him and freak out with his testicle. And then when I moved to Buenos Aires and I saw these author films, I was like, this is Fellini. I started relating real life to films. So I thought I should have the courage to do it, like, at one point. This is my most commercial film, though. So, and we've all seen that testicle at one point of our life.
Yeah, we have a question over here. Go ahead.
The car crash scene, is there a way of knowing whether or not he was looking to kill himself or just did he want to go out in the banks or like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid? Or was he just looking to kill his friends?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of it is fiction, most of it, but that's a real part. That is a real part. And the question you just asked is something that I was asking myself right when I was doing the scene. What is this guy doing? And I think since he was like perceiving his friend was wanting to be famous and come out on TV, and he couldn't stand the fact that the love of his life was going to become an idiot, so he just sacrificed the whole thing. I think he was looking to kill him because he's behind the wheel, but it's still a lot of risk. Yeah. But the scene before where he crashes against a tree, he's kind of like testing it out. Oh yeah. I've known a lot of people who are addicted to crashing, and for real. And I don't know if you can say addicted, but like compulsive to crashing. And I've been with those people and they're like, yeah, we're going to crash. And then they crash just randomly. Yeah, and a lot of things that you do when you're a kid, you just do them to see how it feels. Even hurt somebody, you're just like, okay, let me see what happens.
Okay, we have a question right here. Go ahead.
Uh,
Right. So like how he worked with the actor to like get that performance, or
No, how did you get to understand the character that you needed
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, the real character in real life, which I hate going back to because this is completely different, but the real character, when the judge asked him, you shot them when they were sleeping, and he answered back, well, what do you want me to wake them up? Which meant was like, I'll be double asshole if I wake them up and kill them. And that crazy logic of just those answers, you can write a whole script on someone that answers that way because it's like, okay, I get it. I get where it's going. But at the same time, I don't get it completely. And that's what I think is amazing about the character is that he's as not understandable as most of our lives are. Like, and as a director, I wouldn't want to go over explaining things I don't understand. I think there's an honesty that creates mystery, which is this is the point to where I know I made it, but I respect the fact that it's still a mystery to myself too. Because why would anybody kill people like just for nothing? I was amazed by that. So that's the whole reason why I did the movie, because I didn't understand it completely, and I still don't. But I think it's a statement about purity. It's like no one's gonna fuck with me, no matter what. I'm gonna dance till the end. And it's a crazy statement, but I think in a way it's kind of nice. I didn't want to make a film where you would come out and want to be violent, even though it was about a killer.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Yeah.
Yeah. This is our Charlie Manson in Argentina. He's super famous, and he's been interviewed. One of my best friends interviewed him 10 years ago, and it caused him his. I mean, he lost his wife. He lost his family. He got so intoxicated by talking to this guy. He's been in jail for 50 years, and he's really crazy. And he says he didn't do anything. He says he was just Robin Hood, and so yeah. Actually, I wrote him a letter, and he betrayed me. I should have known that. He gave it to the cops, and the cops gave it to the journalist, and the journalist told everybody, "Look, this director is backing up this serial killer." And I was like, "I'm not. I just wanted an interview." So I did try to get to him, but we tried to like. It's hard to do a story about someone that killed so many people because it's not Gandhi. It's not like, yeah, he's worth a story. You're just grabbing, this excuse to portray what I lived as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A question here. I'll get to you next. Yeah. Go ahead.
I understood the underline of this thing was a love story. It's probably not true, but now I'm doubting if the story isn't much more like the real story, the movie we did, than what the press did. I'm doubting if it wasn't in the end a real love story. Maybe I think it was. And it's just when you're a kid, your friend is so cool, and it's all about your friends when you're a kid. And the same way he meets his friend is how I met my friend in Miami. And when I went to his house, my best friend, his family was like this. It was all crazy. And I was like, I come from this boring family. My parents are together. They don't smoke. They don't raise their voice. And these people shoot inside their house. It was fantastic. I was like, I want that family. And then when you grow up, that's not how it goes. But yeah, it's really based on the things I lived as a kid. When your parents are together, you go to someone their parents are divorced, and you're like, that's what I want. These kids do whatever they want. But then it comes against you. We were talking about that just now. She's like, don't drink in front of your kids.
Exactly. We Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, how involved were you with the soundtrack? It is really, really great.
Well, thanks. Oh, well, the soundtrack, we had this the limit of the film occurs in 1971, so nothing could go beyond 1971. Um, I used all these awesome rock songs from Argentina. Most of them are from Argentina, but then the incidental music is from this blind guy that lived in the street. He was a drifter. He was called Moondog. If you look him up, you'll find him. He lived in New York. He was called the Viking of Sixth Avenue. He was blind, and he was just standing there in the street or playing music. And he did this amazing, he did like 6 records. I don't know how he got in the studio, but he did them. And research, I found them, and I was like, they probably use this all over the place, and no one had ever used them, except the Coen Brothers, one song. Yeah. But you should look him up. He's amazing. Moondog.
Thank you. Do we have any last questions before we close up? Okay, last question. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say that.
The casting of the character is very interesting.
Yeah, and she fell in love. Yeah, that happened to my girlfriend too, and that sucks. But yeah, I saw this kid. 1,000 kids came to the cast. I didn't. The first one that came was him. He was the only one that wasn't an actor, and he just ignored me through the whole cast. And I was like, "That's interesting. No actor's gonna do that." So then I was really insistent that he shouldn't be an actor. He shouldn't be famous. And for a big budget film, it's big. For me, it was pretty big. It's not a good news for the producer that you want to work with someone that never acted in his life. But the kind of performance I was looking for could only be created from ground zero. Like, I don't want any actor with any ideas. This is what I want you to do. And it's like I took my nervous system and put him in his body. And we did it like during a year, worked, and like it failed all the way through the whole process. We failed. A month before, he clicked in, and I was like, "Yeah, that's it. Let's go. Let's do it." Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to all of you for being with us, and to Luis for coming once
Thank you,
again to
Diana.
Toronto.
Thank you so much. Thank you for staying. That was really nice.